All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. In this video here, what I'm going to talk about, kind of inspired by Scottie Pippen running his mouth. I heard some chatter recently, of course, the LeBron people saying how, Scottie Pippen was a top 5 all-time small forward, and actually being discussed as if this was just, you know what I mean? Just matter of fact, this is common knowledge, gospel. Scottie Pippen's a top 5 all-time small forward? Yeah, I don't think so. No, he's not. Top 10 is questionable, and that's what I'm going to get into here. Was Scottie Pippen a top 10 all-time small forward? It's iffy. Okay, so I'm going to get into the guys that I think, actually the 11 players that I think are in the running. And you make up your own mind. If you think Pippen is better than any one of these guys, then he's in the top 10. If there's somebody else you think I'm not thinking about, let me know in the comments. Now, Dennis Rodman did play some small forward, but I still am not convinced that overall game that Dennis Rodman was better than Scottie Pippen. Now, Pippen is a player that, for me, he's about right where he should be. He's a mid-level top 75 player. I've said this before. He's probably right around, number 40 all time, something like that. He's about, low 40s, something like that all time. And that's high praise in my mind. But top 10 all-time small forward, I don't know about that. Somewhere between 40 and 50. We'll just leave it at that, all time, which is high praise. Scottie Pippen never led a team, except for he had the 2 years in 94 and 95. Yeah, they had the 1 year in 94 where they won 55 games. That's great. That gets brought up a lot. And it's like I got to keep putting out that same video like every week to just remind people that, A, the Bulls added key pieces to that team that gave them incredible depth. And then they were able to run the true triangle through these players. And before anybody says, they were no big deal. Well, you guys make the biggest deal about these guys in the second three-peat. Luke Longley, Steve Kerr, and Tony Kukoc. Those 3 players were 3 of the top 7 in minutes played in the second three-peat. Go look it up. Those 3 guys. So they added those 3. And I think Pete Myers and Bill Wennington. Now, any one of those kind of guys, not a big deal. I mean, I guess, Kukoc you could say. And Longley was, an average starting center. But when you have all of them together, you kind of have something. And then the other side of that, B, is the East was just dramatically weakened. There's a reason why the All-Stars in the East in 1994 had 7 first-time and only All-Stars in that game. Look that up. 7 of them. Because the East had lost a bunch of great players, a bunch of them, a plethora of great players. I did a video on this about 2 months ago. Check it out when you can. If you think that I'm talking nonsense, I mean, go check it out. The list of players is staggering. There's like 12, 15 high-level players, all defense, all NBA, all-star level players that either retired, either got injured and then retired, got traded to the West, or a couple guys even died. That would be Reggie Lewis and Drazen Petrovic. All these great players that vanished, basically, from the 93 season to the 94 season. So it was a dramatically weakened East. The Bulls added all these players to give them incredible depth. The number 1 seed that year, Atlanta Hawks, they traded Dominique Wilkins mid-season. Like, what a bunch of idiots. They still maintained the 1 seed somehow, but not surprisingly, they got beat in the second round by, I think, 4 seed Indiana. They got dusted. But anyway, in 1995, the younger players had now emerged as, people to be taken seriously, like Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Penny Hardaway, Shaq, all these guys. It was kind of like, this is the new wave of high level players, and they'd lost so many. And like I said, I don't want to waste any more time on it, but it's really a good watch. I spent a lot of time on it, and it's something the media will never tell you. They're never going to put context on that. They just see the Bulls won 57 games in 93. The Bulls won 55 in 94. That's all they're going to say. But there was a ton of factors as to how that happened. More than just, the Bulls just didn't need Jordan. I'm not even sure that's a knock on Jordan anyway. He got these guys ready to play, and they were much better after playing with Jordan than they ever were before playing with him. That was obvious. Okay, so in this video, like I said, I have 11 small forwards that I think are probably the 11 best. There's a couple guys I didn't put on here, like Paul Pierce, James Worthy, and like I said, you could maybe make a case for Dennis Rodman, but he played a lot of power forward later. So really, he's probably more of a power forward than he is a small forward. Definitely his game was power forward-ish. So it kind of went by when they started in the NBA. So I think technically Paul Arizin was the first, but I'll start with Paul Arizin. So Paul Arizin, now this is just their resumes. This by no means is the whole picture. As far as what they contributed to winning, were they a clutch player? That kind of how good was the competition? How good was their teammates? All those things. This is just their individual resume. So the rest of it can be debated. But, okay, Paul Arizin, he was 3 times he was first team All-NBA. 3 times he was top 5 in MVP. He's a career 81% free throw shooter, which is actually excellent for that era. They did not have the soft breakaway rims like they do now. It was a lot harder to shoot on the rims in the olden days, like say before the merger, basically. It was a lot harder to shoot on those rims. Okay. For his career, Paul Arizin's numbers are 22.8 points, 8.6 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He won 1 championship, and that was in 1956. And if there was such a thing as finals MVP back then, he would have won it. He was clearly the best player on the 56 Philadelphia Warriors. And Paul Arizin also won a scoring title. And this right here is, I have to fact check this, but Paul Arizin won the field goal percentage title. And he's a small forward. How many small forwards had the best field goal percentage in the NBA? I mean, that's something that to me scored at very high points. Now, Paul Arizin missed 2 seasons in his prime, his age 24 and 25-year-old seasons, because of the war, military service. He was an all-star in all 10 of his seasons. That means something. Every year, he was an all-star. He is a top 75 player. He won two scoring titles. I don't know why I wrote 1. He won 2. So Paul Arizin actually has 2 scoring titles. And he played, in the 50s. He did play a couple years with Wilt. I think about 4 years with Wilt Chamberlain. Paul Arizin was a great player. Like I said, he was the finals MVP of the 56 Warriors team. And there was other good teams, like Dolph Schayes in Syracuse. Very good team. They won a championship. I think it was in 55, the year before. Good team. You had Boston with Bob Cousy and Bill Sharman. They had Ed McCauley. They had Frank Ramsey. They had all that business, all those Hall of Famers. But Paul Arizin and the Philadelphia Warriors won the championship. So anyway, that's Paul Arizin. I think very highly of him. Elgin Baylor. What can you say? Elgin Baylor, 10 times first team All-NBA. 7 times he was top 5 for MVP. He was a 78% career free throw shooter. That's the one stat that's universal across all eras. Free throw percentage. His career numbers just knock my socks off every time I see him. 27.4 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. I mean, that's more points than Kevin Durant. And I think that's more rebounds than I want to say that's more rebounds than Tim Duncan. So it's amazing. Elgin Baylor is the best player in the NBA history without even hesitation to never win an MVP, never win a championship, and to never lead the league in a stat category. Clearly, he was the best one. From 1961 through 1963, those 3 years, Elgin Baylor averaged 35.7 points per game. I mean, that's Michael Jordan level. No, dead serious. His career high is higher than Michael Jordan's. 1962, 38.3 points per game. I mean, this guy's ridiculous. 7 times he was top 5 for MVP. I mean, Elgin Baylor was the real deal, legit player. Back in 1959, they beat the defending champion St. Louis Hawks. The Lakers did. That was before Jerry West got there. They were a 33-39 team, and they knocked off the defending champion St. Louis Hawks. So even though Baylor never won a championship, he did do some things like that. Like a feather in his cap, you could say. All right, Rick Barry. Rick Barry, 9 times first team All-NBA or ABA. Now, he was making All-NBAs before he played in the ABA and then after. So it's obvious he would have made him whatever league he played in. Top 5 for MVP, 3 times in the ABA, 3 times in the NBA, so that's 6 total. Career free throw percentage, 89.3%, and I believe that is the highest among all small forwards of all time. His career numbers are 24.8 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4.9 assists. That's an excellent line. 7-time free throw champion. He's got a finals MVP. He's got a steals title, and he's got a scoring title. Rick Barry, legit, great all-time player. He's in my top 30. All right, John Havlicek. John Havlicek 4 times was first-team All-NBA. Twice he was top 5 for MVP. He's actually got 7 top 10s. A career 81.5% free throw shooter. His career numbers are 20.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 4.8 assists. Very close to Rick Barry, in fact, just not quite as good a score. 8 times all defense for John Havlicek, and I believe that was 3 times first team and no, it was 5 times first team, 3 times second team. But his first 5 seasons, they did not have all defense. So it's safe to say this guy would have probably had something like, 7 or 8 first teams, and maybe like 5 second teams, no doubt. And he is, as far as I know, he's got the most finals victories without a loss in NBA history at 8-0. Now, he was not the best player on Boston in the 60s. Clearly, that was Bill Russell. And then once the emergence of Dave Cowens, when he joined Boston and he got rolling and, he won an MVP and all that, it was kind of like a co-best player between the two of them. Now, John Havlicek was the best player on Boston from about 1970 until about 73, I would say, about those 4 years in there. And, I mean, his numbers were through the roof. He was getting you 25, 27 points a game. Great player, no doubt about it. All right, Dr. J, 9-time first-team All-NBA, 9-time top 5 MVP. Both of these are ABA and NBA combined. A career 77.7% free throw shooter. Not bad, it's okay. 24.2 points, 8.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 2 steals, and 1.7 blocks. Dr. J filled up all 5 stat categories as good as about any player I've ever seen. I mean, 1.7 blocks, for a small forward. That's outstanding. He won 3 ABA MVPs and 1 NBA MVP. He won 2 ABA championships and 1 NBA championship. I mean, Dr. J, what can you say? I got him in my top 12. So he's obviously, an all-time great without any question, a great player. Larry Bird, he's got nine first-team All-NBAs, 9 times top 5 for MVP, 88.6% career free throw shooting, which is elite. That's not almost as good as Rick Barry. He did win 4 free throw titles. His career numbers are 24.3 points, 10 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 1.7 steals. Actually, it's almost like Larry Bird is a hybrid, at least on paper, of like Dr. J and Rick Barry. I mean, he was just, what can you say? I think I got him number 6, but if people have him in their top 5, I don't argue about it. He was great. He won 3 MVPs, 2 Finals MVPs, 3 championships, and 3 times he was all defense. Larry freaking Bird. What a great, great player. I got him as the best small forward of all time, hands down. All right, Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins was 1-time first-team All-NBA, and a lot of the reason is because of Larry Bird. He had Larry Bird in front of him. And some of his other competition at the forward position for first-team All-NBA was like Kevin McHale. It was Dr. J when he was younger. Then when Dr. J started to get old, it was Kevin McHale, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone and James Worthy. It was very stiff competition for first-team All-NBA. But he did get one. 3 times he was top 5 for MVP. Now, granted, Dominique Wilkins didn't have a lot of playoff success, but he also didn't have a stacked team ever. In fact, the only top 75 player he ever played with was after his prime Moses Malone for I think 2 or 3 years, and one of those years he was hurt, whatever. I think he might have played with Twilight, Sidney Moncrief, Twilight, Maurice Cheeks. But come on, let's be reasonable. Dominique Wilkins never had a prime number 2 player. He never had it ever, and he was playing in a stacked Eastern Conference. Okay. He was a career 81.1% career free throw shooter. His career numbers are 24.8 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.3 steals. He won 1 scoring title, and he was 5 times All-NBA, 1 first team and 4 second team. And again, look at how close his numbers are to Rick Barry. 24.8 points, matches Barry. 6.7 rebounds, matches Barry. And yeah, Barry does have 2.5 more assists. But I'm just saying, Dominique ain't so far off from even Rick Barry. That's impressive, at least from an individual player standpoint. But Rick Barry won that championship that year, 1975. And also about Rick Barry, I forgot to mention this. In 1973, as a 47-win team, they took down the Milwaukee Bucks, the 60-22 Milwaukee Bucks, with Kareem and Oscar Robertson on that team. And then the very next round took down Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West. Imagine beating a quarter of my top 16 all-time players back-to-back rounds. Incredible. Just incredible stuff. All right. LeBron James. Now, LeBron James has been playing for a while, and, some people question how he's able to have been playing for so long, but I'm not going to get into that. 13-time first-team All-NBA, 14-time top 5 for MVP. He's a career 73.6% free throw shooting, which is the worst on this list so far. His career numbers are 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, 7.4 assists. He has 5 first-team all-defenses, 1.5 steals for his career. He's got 4 championships, 1 scoring title, 1 assist title, 4 MVPs, and 4 Finals MVPs. Kevin Durant, 6 times first-team All-NBA, 6 times top 5 for MVP, 88.3% career free throw shooting, which is elite. He does have 1 free throw title. His career numbers are 27.3 points, 7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.1 blocks. He has 1 MVP, 1 free throw title, 4 scoring titles, 2 championships, and 2 finals MVPs. It looks great, except for we know the championships, the finals MVPs were Bush League. They were kind of chicken shit, because of what he did by going to the team that eliminated him. I mean, it's just crazy. So to me, I absolutely hold it against Kevin Durant. At least if you want to bring up his winning, his finals MVPs, his winning rounds in the playoffs, the championships, anything basically he did on Golden State, I almost treat it as if it didn't happen. I mean, pretty much. Now, the fact that they won basically is just kind of like, yeah, that's what they were supposed to do. But if they would have lost any of those, then yeah, we would have crucified Kevin Durant. Now, he wasn't there in the 2019 finals except for like one game for whatever minutes it was. He busted up his Achilles. But, yeah, Kevin Durant, unfortunately, kind of tarnished his legacy by doing that. Kawhi Leonard, he's got 3 first-team All-NBAs, 3 top 5 for MVPs. He's a career 86.1% career free throw shooter, which is borderline elite. I didn't know he was that good a free throw shooter, but he is. His career averages are 20 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.7 steals. He's got 1 steals title. He won 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs to go along with it. He made the finals 3 times, and he has 2 finals MVPs. That speaks volume. And one of them, he won a championship without a Hall of Famer, as far as I know, unless they do something stupid like let Kyle Lowry or Marc Gasol in the Hall of Fame. He led a team to a championship without a Hall of Famer. He dethroned the 2-time champion Golden State Warriors, upset the 60-win Bucks. Big stuff. This is good resume stuff here. No doubt about it. He's got 3 first-team all-defenses, 4 second-team all-defenses, and 2 defensive players of the year. Those are all really good stuff right there. That, bolsters his case to be a top 10 all-time small forward. Now, I understand in recent years he's been kind of a diva, and, people are turned off by him and all that. But still, I mean, Kawhi Leonard accomplished a lot. He really did. But unfortunately, he played in the era of James Harden and Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and a bunch of Paul George, a bunch of softies, you know what I mean, that, they play, they won't play when they're healthy, that kind of stuff. Just babies, man. They're just not built the same as previous eras. That's for sure. All right, now, the whole man why I made the video, Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was a 3-time first-team All-NBA player. Twice he was top 5 for MVP. I believe that was both in 94 and 95. He's a career 70.4% free throw shooter, which is the worst on this list. He's a worse free throw shooter than LeBron James is. I mean, that's kind of shocking, to be honest with you. His career numbers are really not super impressive on paper. 16.1 points, 6.4 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 2 steals. Now, the rebounds, assists, and steals, that's decent. That's respectable for sure. But 16.1 points, I mean, that's kind of low. Now, for his defensive prowess, at least on paper, he does have a steals title, 8 times first team all defense, and twice second team all defense. So that right there makes him a well-rounded player. No doubt about it. Okay, so for sure, Elgin Baylor is a top 5 all-time small forward. I don't even have to think about it. I know he is. End of story. Dr. J, for sure, is a top 5 all-time small forward. No question. Larry Bird, no question, is a top 5 all-time small forward. LeBron James is a top 5 all-time small forward. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Who would the next name be? Now, most people are going to jump right to Kevin Durant. Oh, it's Kevin Durant. But I got to tell you, John Havlicek, Rick Barry, they got cases. Now, are they better than Kevin Durant? I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably not. I mean, Durant was such a great offensive player. He was such a force, and he was at least serviceable on defense. What he pulled in Golden State doesn't really hurt how good of a player he was. It just hurts his legacy and, overall, just his overall case because of, when you bring the winning into it, he's going to take a hit for that. But all things considered, I would still say Kevin Durant is probably number 5. Well, either him or Elgin Baylor. I think he's ahead of Baylor at 4 over 5 because Baylor never won a championship. Durant at least was in the finals before all this stuff happened. Of course, Baylor was in the finals a bunch of times and all that. But, it was a lot easier to get into the finals back then. But all things considered, Durant's probably number 4. But it's really close to Elgin Baylor, though. No doubt about it. So now we get into where it's kind of tricky. So the next 5, 6 through 10, this is where it's tricky. For me, no doubt, Rick Barry is one of them. No question. John Havlicek, without any doubt, is one of them. And then you got 4 players for 3 spots. Now, for me, I'm thinking that the next guy in line, most likely, I would go with Paul Arizin. I think Paul Arizin deserves to be in there. I do. Now, do I think Scottie Pippen is better than Kawhi Leonard? I think it's really close. But here's the thing that I think separates them. Now, obviously Pippen has 10 all defenses. But Kawhi Leonard is not done, and he's got 7. They both have a steals title. Kawhi Leonard is a much better free throw shooter. And you're that much better. That means something. The scoring, Kawhi Leonard obviously is a better scorer. The rebounding is a tie. The assists, you give that to Pippen and you give him a slight edge on steals, but whatever. But for defense, Kawhi Leonard has 2 defensive players of the year. 2. So overall, I'd say it's kind of close on defense anyway. On offense, Kawhi Leonard has 2 finals MVPs, and his numbers are better. I would say Leonard is definitely a better offensive player by, a decent margin. Now, for the winning thing, Pippen was the second best player on 6 championship teams. That definitely has value, no doubt about it. However, Kawhi Leonard won 2 finals MVPs. Now, his first one, he may or may not have been the best player. It was kind of a collective effort with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan. It was just so many, players that played a part in the 2014 championship. But 2019, Kawhi Leonard deserves a ton of credit for that finals MVP right there. And I think, all things considered, I would give Kawhi Leonard a slight edge. And this is not me hating on Pippen or anything like that. Now, Paul Arizin played a long time ago. Now, he only played 10 years. I get that. But when it comes to offensively, Paul Arizin was much better than Scottie Pippen was. I know rebounds, you got a lot easier chance of getting rebounds back then, but you also got a lot easier chance of getting assists in the modern day compared to back then. It was hard to get assists. But all things considered, with the 2 scoring titles, that's why I have Arizin over him. He's over a 10% better free throw shooter. They have the same amount of first-team All-NBAs, and Paul Arizin has 1 more top 5 for MVP. Now, I understand Scottie Pippen was an elite defender, but I was reading up on it, and they said Paul Arizin was definitely an above-average defender. He was pretty good on defense. And I think what separates them is the fact that he has this championship right here as the best player. He would have won finals MVP if such a thing existed. And this right here just blows my mind. As far as I know, the only small forward to ever win the field goal percentage title. I'd have to fact check that. But that means this guy was a deadly shooter. Deadly. He's out shooting centers. You know what I mean? And he's a small forward. He was shooting jump shots and stuff. And I was reading about him, about his whole game. Paul Arizin was legit. He missed 2 years of his prime. All 10 years of his career, he was an all-star. So to me, again, that has value. That means something. That's why I have Paul Arizin, definitely a top 10 all-time small forward. So here's what it all comes down to. Who do you think is better? And I also had Pippen and Kawhi Leonard have almost the same assist-to-turnover ratio. Pippen is 1.85. Leonard is 1.875. So he's just, a fingernail better than Pippen on the assist-to-turnover ratio. But anyway, comes down to who do you think is better, Scottie Pippen or Dominique Wilkins? Now, at first, I'm thinking Pippen because of all the winning and yada, yada. Okay, maybe. Pippen has 3 first-team All-NBAs. Dominique has 1. Now, Pippen had less competition later on in the 90s. You had like Grant Hill, and there was, Karl Malone and Barkley. There was competition, no doubt about it. But I just think Dominique had a little bit tougher. But the top 5 for MVP means that, typically, it's the value, how valuable you are to your team. And Dominique Wilkins has more than Pippen does. And I think that means something. It really does. The free throw shooting, Dominique is over 10% better. The scoring, Dominique obviously just way better all-around offensive player than Scottie Pippen was. No doubt about it. Got the scoring title, all that kind of thing. Defensively, Pippen was, better than Dominique Wilkins. Now, Dominique Wilkins was no bum on defense. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't, top-level, great, elite, nothing like that. No, he wasn't. But I think it literally comes down to who do you think had a better career and was a better player, Dominique Wilkins or Scottie Pippen? It's very close, but I think I probably give Pippen the slight edge, and I mean barely. And so I would probably say Pippen is barely a top 10 all-time small forward. No way is he a top 5 all-time small forward. You would have to kick out Larry Bird, Dr. J, LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Elgin Baylor. You're telling me Scottie Pippen was better than Elgin Baylor? Yeah, okay. And then John Havlicek and Rick Barry. No, those guys were better. I'm not saying by a mile. Rick Barry for sure. I don't know. Havlicek too. I would say, yeah, both those guys were better than Pippen. Not by a big margin, but a margin nonetheless. I would say, and for sure, Pippen is not in the top 7. You can argue and make cases about Kawhi Leonard, Paul Arizin, and Dominique Wilkins, because that's really who's left. But all things considered, like I said, I think Scottie Pippen is barely a top 10 all-time small forward. I would say barely. And you also have Paul Pierce, James Worthy, other guys like that. But I would say barely. But top 5 is a dream. There is no way Scottie Pippen is better than Elgin Baylor, Dr. J, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Larry Bird. There's just no freaking way. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. And until next time.